I would just sit there and, hey, how you doing? And wouldn't say, hey, you want to buy a picture? I just sit there and start talking to people and let them mention the pictures. And if they don't even mention them, I don't even push them because I was just happy to be there. I'm being paid to be there, and it's nice to make some extra money. But I was there for the fans. And God knows they gave me a lot of hell during my career. Although I think I was more popular than most referees because I think a lot of the people just appreciated the hustle and all that I did because I really got into what I was doing. And another thing too, if you watched a Flair Steamboat match, they rarely went home, as we called it, ending the match before the 40-minute mark. These guys always wrestled a good while. Sometimes they'd go 45, 50 minutes. There was a situation one time where Flair had an accident and he ate too close to the matches, and I don't want to get too graphic because I've talked about this before. I mean, but I think we've all had a situation in our life where we couldn't hold our load, so to speak, and had an accident in our britches. It's happened to me, and this particular night it happened to Rick, and we were in a sold-out Charlotte Coliseum, about 12,000 people in there, the old Coliseum, which is still there. I think it's called Bojangles Arena now, where I did all the shows. But I mean, it wasn't like, oh, gotta go. No, they went another 7, 8 minutes, and needless to say, things didn't smell real good. It was a bad situation. It was the only time that ever happened. The one time Hawk, Mike Hegstrap, Hawk of the Road Warriors, one time he barfed in Richmond, Virginia, and we were swapping back and forth. Big shows, there would be two referees. I'd go to the ring for one, then we'd swap out. And I hit the ring, and they had just done, and I forget who I was repping, but I get in the ring, and there's barf in the ring. And what the hell? So I just got a broom and swept it up. I didn't even call any attendants in or anything. I said, get me a broom, and I swept the damn ring up. He didn't barf real heavily, and of course, that leaves an odor too, but hey, they didn't have another ring cover, and there wasn't time to do it, so I just swept up the ring. The little bit of moisture there was seeped into it, so it dried up. And you just do what you got to do. I mean, things are going to happen. Nothing was more horrible than what happened to poor Owen Hart in I think it was that in Canada that happened, where he was coming down from the ceiling and he slipped.
City. I think it was Kansas City.
It may have been, yeah, and he slipped out of the harness somehow. Apparently, it was never secured. Actually, Sting was the one that was starting to do that stuff first, and they picked up on it from him. And Owen must have slid out of it, and he fell into the ring, and the fans thought that was part of the show. They didn't even know it was an accident. And they finished the show, and he died that evening. He may have died right in the ring, I don't know. But that stuff is not supposed to happen. But you got to be careful about stuff like that. You got to make sure you're secured, and I don't know whose fault it was. It's really a shame. I didn't know Owen that well, but he was a nice guy. I reffed him a few times, and but accidents can happen. Look what happened to me. I mean, a guy gets careless with me, and I get my neck broke, and goodbye career. I'm not bitter about it anymore. I don't know that I ever really was bitter because it was an accident, but it was a careless one, and it probably cost me $1 million in lost wages. So like I said, Earl's still doing it. He ain't doing it much, but he's still doing it. And I find that amazing that Earl can still do it. And that's why I got so much respect for him. And something else, too. I did not train Earl. Earl tells people that I trained him, but he's just saying that to put me over. I didn't train Earl. Earl learned on his own just like I did. He learned from his brother David. He learned some stuff from me. I picked up some stuff from watching other referees. I'm not going to tell you I didn't. But I didn't. I never trained anybody. Earl learned on his own, and that other thing that you were saying at the beginning, I have to be honest about too. 5-time referee of the year. If I got an award, I'm not even aware of it. I don't ever recall getting a. They didn't give awards to referees. Dusty, who was my boss, in the late '80s, for Crockett when we were really taking off with the Starcades, mid '80s to late '80s, he did that thing about 5-time referee of the year, and I actually did it in an interview that I did, was something about JJ stealing some money from Dusty, and they interviewed me later. It was in Greensboro with Tully and Dusty. And but no, I never got an award. They didn't give awards to referees. If they did, I'm not aware of it. But that stuff about 5-time referee of the year, that's bull tweet. I never got an award in my life that way. I got some awards later on, that I've got hanging up in here. But I never really took myself that seriously because I knew, hey, you're just a referee. You're not one of the big boys. But when it comes to TV, let's face it, if people see you all the time on TV, you're a celebrity. You may not really be one, but they think you are because you're on TV. Everybody wants to be on TV. I remember when I was first on, oh, wow, man, I'm on TV. And then after a while, I'd have people over sometimes, and I'd be turning the station, and there'd be a match on, and I was repping it, and I kept right on going. And, hey, man, there you are. I said, yeah, I know, but I mean, for Pete's sake, I've seen it a million times. I'm not impressed with that anymore. I mean, the only time I really wanted to watch it was if I wanted to see something specific, to see if I did it right or how it looked. But I mean, it was my living. I sure as hell did not want to watch wrestling in my spare time. It was my living. I just not. But there are guys that do. I mean, Corny's like that. Corny eats, drinks, and sleeps. I'm talking about Jim Cornette again. I call him Corny. He eats, drinks, and sleeps wrestling. And Corny says that Vince Jr., puts him to shame. He says all he does is live wrestling, even in his sleep. So, I really hate the fact that wrestling has gone the way that it has, and I do blame Vince for that. But I also have to admit, in my opinion, Vince McMahon is a genius. I mean, everything he touches seems to turn to gold. I mean, hell, he's even friends with President Trump, and his wife Linda, I believe, is in Trump's cabinet. She's running something. Yep. And they did a thing, him and Trump, a few years ago, where somebody was going to lose their hair. And everybody knew Trump wasn't going to lose his hair. Everybody knew it was going to be Vince that was going to lose it. But yeah, they're like I said, everything Vince touches seems to just turn to gold. You got to respect him for that. Don't know him that well, but he's always been very nice to me the few times that I've come in contact with him. Worked for him a few times. I did 2 shows for him in '98. Corny actually engineered that. I was surprised they ever let me in the ring, but I don't think Vince was totally aware of my disability. And they were going to actually use me in some house shows, and then somebody woke up and, whoa, Tommy Young, come on, he sued Turner. So we can't take that chance. So they had to back out. I said, well, I don't blame you. Frankly, I never thought you were going to let me in the ring. It was very dangerous. I mean, Tony Gurria, an old friend, a guy that didn't smile much, but he's a good guy. He was one of the agents, and he came to me with the release. And I said, yeah, I'll sign this thing, Tony, but I'll tell you right now, if I get hurt, that release ain't going to protect you guys. I said, you're still going to be liable. And he said, yeah, it's a bluff, but we got to do it, Tommy. So I signed the damn thing, and we did it. Everything was fine. And actually, they used me for the Steamboat DVD that they put out. I did a bunch of commentary on that. They sent a camera crew here to Charlotte to interview me and paid me well. But the last time I came in contact with them, which was about 5 years ago, I got thrown out of the building, if you can believe that. Somebody had me thrown out. This was during the day. They were setting up for the night show. It was ironic. I I had been taking care of a friend of mine, an old boyhood friend of mine, and he died, and I sent his body back up to Michigan. He was going to be buried there, and his two boys, who I was very close to, and I'm kind of like their surrogate father now, they're big in wrestling. And when I flew up, when I drove up is what I did. I had the body flown up, but I drove up myself. And it just so happened that they were going to be in town that week at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. That's where they have the hockey and everything, and they have shows there. They also have them at the Palace, and of course they had the real big one in the Silver Dome in '87, WrestleMania 3, which at the time was a record. That was really something. Would have been nice to have been a part of that. But anyway, different buildings, but anyway, I stopped by during the day at Joe Louis Arena. I thought I'll go down there. The boys just lost their father, and the kids were like 14, and they were like 13 and 16. And I was gonna see if maybe I could bring them. Their grandfather already had tickets that night. But I thought, hey, maybe I can get them in, see some of the guys, meet them, because they just lost their father. So I stopped by there that day while they were setting up, and Robbie, my old buddy, Charles Robinson, who's working for them right now, may be off because he hurt his foot, but he'll be back if he's not back already. He got me in because it's different now. I mean, when they set up a show, they've got like about 20 trucks out there. It's just unbelievable the equipment they've got. And when they used to come to Charlotte here, it wasn't anything like that. And I could walk in or out of there. One time I walked into an interview, and they didn't even get upset at me. But this particular time, he had to get me. Robbie had to get me in, and he got me a pass. Backstage pass for everything, because I just wanted to say hello to some of the agents. They were really the only guys that I still knew. Everybody was pretty much gone. There was a few guys that might still be left. Mark, the Undertaker, he was just kind of coming along when I got hurt. In fact, they called him Mean Mark Callis back then. And, of course, he did the Undertaker. What a great role he played in that. He's a good guy. And see him and Michael Hayes and a few others. Talk to Kane. Kane worked for Corny with Smoky Mountain Wrestling before he went with Vince. So I talked to Eddie Guerrero's wife. I forget her name, but just like I said, just to say hello to a few people. And I wandered into the main room, and I get a "Hey Tommy," and I look up, and it's Paul Bearer. The guy that used to have the urn with Kane. And, hey, what do you know, Paul? And come on up. So we're sitting there talking, and this big bald guy in a suit comes out and looks up at me. And we didn't pay any attention to it. And then he asked to speak to me. And next thing I know, he's walking me out and taking my backstage pass. And what's going on? I mean, I've worked for this organization. I'm Tommy Young. What are you doing? And he wanted me out. And this guy's twice my size. I thought he was one of the guys at first, but he was a former police officer. He's one of their security guys. And anyway, he walked me out. And I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I wound up standing in the middle of the street. And what the hell just happened? So I called Robbie up, and he didn't want to touch it. The referees up there are very job scared, unfortunately. I was never job scared when I was here. Maybe I should have been, but I wasn't. But anyway, somebody had me thrown out, and I don't know who it was. I don't know that I had heat with anybody, although Arn Anderson is not the friend that he used to be. But I don't know that he did it. I don't know. But somebody put that guy up to that. But he threw me out. And I was so damn mad that, when the grandfather and the boys were going that night, I said, y'all just go ahead. I'm not going. I'm not going down there after that. Screw that. And they've been here in town a couple of times in Charlotte. Steamboat and Don Cornoldo were both down one night calling me, come on, get on down here. Nope, I ain't coming down there. Not anymore, not after what they did. And Never found out who did it. I know I never will. But I mean, that's humiliating. You know, you're going to see old friends, and I was treated like I was a spy or a mark or something. You know, somebody put that guy up to that. I don't know who it was. I don't think it was Johnny Laurinaitis. He and I are old friends. He was there at the time. I didn't see him, but I know he was there. Vince was there somewhere. So I don't know what happened, but I got run out of there, and I told everybody I knew, every journalist I knew, spread it around. I'm not active on the computer. I'm afraid of the computer. I'm not on Facebook or any of that stuff. I hide from that. I'm just afraid of it. People tell me, God, there's so many people out there that like to talk to you. You ought to get on Facebook. I said, well, there's so many people on Facebook now. There's also, I'm afraid of the computer. I mean, there are so many smart people that are hackers. I'm afraid I'm going to get all my information stolen, and I don't know. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I still pay my bills with a check, an envelope, and a stamp. I don't pay stuff on. I'm afraid of that stuff, so I just don't do it. But somebody threw me out, and boy, I tell you, that hurt my feelings, brother. I will never forget that. Never.